In January, my husband and I did something we've not really done before, and I want to share that with you as well as how it impacted our finances. It is such a neat tool. If you're looking for tools to put in your financial toolbox, not just to make your marriage better, not just to make your finances easier, but for you as a wife to feel better, to feel more secure about your finances all year long, let me share with you a couple of the things my husband and I did, and one thing in particular that will make your whole year feel more financially secure and safe and peaceful. So this year, my husband and I did something we've not really done before, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a few minutes. But first of all, I want to mention 2 or 3 other things, goals that I had in January that really helped our finances. Now, I posted about one of them, and that was the decluttering challenge. And I feel like the decluttering challenge wasn't just good for our home, and it wasn't just good for my spirit, and it wasn't just good for my husband's spirit. It was good for our finances all year long. And part of the reason is something I explained in a former video, and that is that when you know where everything you own is, you are not going out to buy those things again because you can't find them. So that's one good reason why the decluttering challenge really helped us in January, and I think it's going to help us all year long. The room that I primarily focused on in January was our bedroom and our master bedroom closet. But in February, I'm doing my kitchen, and I've already, wow, it's really helped me a lot in the kitchen. Like my pantry is so easy to see where all the food is, and there's just a lot of things that have been helpful, even so far in February. And then I'm going to focus on different areas of the house and different months, and you can follow along with that challenge. But not only did it help me with that, but it also helped me with mindset. It got me started on sort of a pathway to a very peaceful mindset this year about my finances and about my home in general. So one of my personal temptations is to continually sort of upgrade or add to our home decorations and our home decor. And I mentioned before that we had to start all over again during COVID with nothing but the suitcases we had. So our decorations are from zero. You can imagine how that left us with a pretty blank canvas for our home. I like pictures on the walls. I like pretty things. I like having a candle here and there. I like flowers scattered throughout my home. And when you're trying to, furnish a whole entire house, you don't start by spending a lot of money on that. So I occasionally will buy here and there things that I might find are pretty and aren't very expensive just to sort of up the mood. But I also like sort of a minimalist view or a minimalist look to my house, primarily because it frees my brain space. I like to use my brain for things other than clutter. So cleaning and decluttering really put me on that mindset of I don't need more. I actually have everything I need. And that's just been a fantastic start to my year. So that was one of my challenges. Another one of my goals in January, and I never thought that I could do this goal, but was to have a no sugar month. And I started the month not on January 1st because we were still finishing out our family time together. And so that wasn't going to work. I was still trying to bake sweet things for my kids who were home for the holidays and the other family members and things. So my daughter and I decided to do this together, and we started on, I think, January 3rd. And we did it for the entire month. And mine might have even extended a couple days into February. I'll tell you why I never thought I could do that. That's because I have always drunk my coffee with sugar and cream. I actually don't really like coffee without a sweetener in it. And so I always thought, and I hate it with like honey or stevia. I just could not get past that. And my daughter started drinking her coffee black a couple of years ago, and she actually prefers it that way. So I don't think that was as much of a challenge to her as maybe the dark chocolate was. Giving that up was hard for both of us. But when I instituted the no sugar month, that doesn't mean I didn't have any sugar the whole month. What it means is that I didn't eat any sweets, any baked goods with, sugar in them. I also did not add sugar to anything. Now, I was allowed to have honey. I was allowed to use stevia, but those times that I used those sweeteners was very rare. I think I accidentally ate a bite or two of sugar once, and then I remembered that that thing had sugar in it, and I stopped eating right away. So I'm not saying it was like a perfect month or anything, but what it was very self-disciplined in the realm of sugar. And what I discovered was a couple of things. Number one, I bought far less junk food. And it was the perfect month to do this because people all around us were sick. I had a couple of children who were sick during that month. I mean, pretty sick with like flus and coughs and things that just sort of hung on. So I was telling them almost every day, no sugar today, honey. It's going to make your sickness worse. So I wasn't telling them not to eat sugar and then me eating sugar in front of them. That wouldn't have been very good. I was upholding the very thing that I was encouraging them to do. So that helped me health-wise. It also kept me from getting sick. And I'm telling you, we spent money on my kids' sickness. We had to take them to the urgent care two times at least. For 2 different children, we ended up in the urgent care. We ended up with them on antibiotics. And I do partially blame the sweets that we ate over Christmas vacation. I know there's always germs involved. But when I look at the fact that I would wake up many mornings with just a little scratchy throat and think to myself, I'm coming down with something. And I never did. And I really think it's because I stayed away from sugar. Sugar is a very large contributing factor to getting the flu or the virus or other sicknesses. So it kept me healthy all through January, and even through the first part of February, I haven't been sick at all. And I'm so grateful for that. February, I went back to eating a little bit of sugar, not in my coffee. No real sweets except for once in a while. And I'm definitely cutting back from where I was last year. So even though it's not a no sugar month, I've had multiple no sugar days, and predominantly I just don't eat as much sweets. But ongoing, this has helped our finances because, again, I'm not buying sweets and I'm not buying a lot of like snacky foods. And those are expensive. When you look at a budget for a whole family, those are expensive. So my kids like to bake. I have one son who really enjoys baking. So we did bake some cookies together. We've done a few other things. It's not that we don't have any sweets at all, but I personally am trying to avoid the vast majority of them. So that has saved me money. But there's one other goal that I had in January that has also saved me money. And that is that I wanted to do a no-buy month. And I really have profited from other people talking about their no-buy months on YouTube. And I just thought, I'm going to try this. For me, it's not going to be I don't buy anything. It's going to be I do not walk into even one thrift store all of January, and I don't buy anything for myself. So I upheld that. I did not go into, and here's the issue, okay? The issue is that we have very good thrift stores in my area, and one of them is on my way to drop my kids off at school, literally right beside the road, right near their school. So it's very hard for me to pass up that chance. I drop my kids off at school, I swing right past there. Like, it's such a temptation for me to just swing in and see what I can find in the books department or, a new sweater or this or that. And I know it's not much money every time. It's really not. Like, even if you only spend, $5 when you go in there, if you do that multiple times in a month, it adds up. And I know that for myself, the temptation is not to go splurge at Belk's and buy $300 worth of clothes. The temptation is to run into Goodwill multiple times during a month and spend little amounts. And I was just working on my own self-discipline. So, not only did I not eat sugar for a month, which I didn't think I could do, I also did not go into Goodwill for an entire month or any other thrift store. And I didn't think I could do that either. So that was amazing. But there's a third thing that my husband and I did that blew my socks off. And I want to tell you about that because I feel like that was the biggest money saver and just putting our whole financial life into a place of peace. So let me tell you about that next. So first, for a little bit of background, every year at the end of the year, my husband and I do a yearly financial analysis. And I usually do the prep work for that. So I go back through our finances. We have a spreadsheet we keep of all of our utility bills all year. So all of our monthly bills, what we've paid for our mortgage or extra that we've put on our mortgage. We have, we keep track of everything. So our doctor's appointments, how much did we pay for that? How much did we spend on groceries all year? Things like that. So every monthly bill we track on a spreadsheet. That's separate from our budget. We just do this as a separate sort of worksheet. So we have a general idea every year from one year to the next, how much we've spent, what months of the year tend to be bigger spend months, what months of the year tend to have a little extra income in them, etc. All of that sort of more nitty-gritty detail about our finances. Now that helps me as a wife. I do that. I do the prep work for that because I prefer to know that information. Financial security is not, so it's hard to explain this, but I feel like there's a measure of financial security that I have enjoyed my entire marriage to this man because of his ongoing fiscal responsibility. Unlike our government, which tends to be very fiscally irresponsible, my husband has always made sure that we are never in debt. We spend within our means. We give above our means or beyond what would conceivably be our means. And I love to give. So it's always exciting me to write that check. A check that's tied to our church or a check that's for some good cause, whether that's mission work or some other good cause or students who are, working at camps during the summer. Anything that we want to give to, we almost always have money to give to. And that's because we spend less than we make. Well, I'm just telling you that to say that I always feel financially secure. I really don't ever feel insecure financially. But the thing that makes me feel even better is knowing that our finances for the year are set up in such a way that it's orderly, we're prepared for the year, and we have a good idea of what we're going to spend that year. So, and my husband and I work together really well on this. It's not like one of us does it and the other one doesn't. We both work together on this. He does more of the intricate mathing behind all of that. I do not enjoy math. I'm more of a words person. I'm a writer. And so I enjoy other aspects of it. But I do enjoy feeling financially secure. So I do my part. So once I do that, we actually every year sit down and we have a financial meeting of the minds. And I really encourage y'all to do that too. Like to take some time at the beginning of the year, say, what are our financial priorities? What can we do to make them happen? And what could be our goals this year? And maybe it's paying off a debt if you have one. Maybe it's putting more money down on your mortgage so you can get done with your mortgage earlier. Maybe it's saving for college. Maybe it's saving for something else. I'm not saying what it is that you should, decide to do. That's totally, personalized to your financial situation and your desires, and your goals. But for us, every year it seems to be a new thing. So this year we sat down and we had a little extra money from like bonuses or Christmas gifts or whatever at the beginning of the year. And we sat down and we figured out, okay, what can we do to set aside the money for all of our sinking funds for the entire year in January so that the rest of the year we actually don't need to budget that part. We already have it set aside. And remember, I told you that we know what our expenses are for each month. We know this because we've been tracking them for years. So we may not know the exact amount, but especially all of the sinking funds or all of the payments that are regulated, like every month they're the same. Utilities, there's a little bit of flex and swing with that because, 1 month our gas bill is higher 1 month, our electric bill is higher 1 month, our water bill may be higher, etc. So there's swings on that, but a lot of our other bills are set in stone. So for instance, our internet bill is, so every month we know exactly what that's going to be. So setting that money aside. So that's what my husband did. We actually had enough money to set aside into one account or one sort of category all of the money that we needed for our set expenses for the entire year. Do you know what a weight that is off of my back? And how that lets us plan out the year? So that does include things like groceries or doctor visits. That is just all of our set expenses that don't change. And that also does not include our mortgage, by the way. But having all of that set aside means nothing's going to surprise us when it comes to like car insurance or, other things that we only maybe pay once a year, but they come up every year. That just makes our whole budget flow easier. And it also gives me this like wonderful feeling of security, like, okay, so the car insurance is going to come due and it's already there in our bank account. It's saved. We didn't go spend it on something. We didn't even put it towards a different budget or goal or savings thing. We just stuck it in its own little category, and now our monthly budget is much more regimented throughout the year. I like that personally. I don't like the swings. We have a very crazy, I can't even tell you how crazy sort of our income is, and then for various reasons. And then our expenses are kind of back and forth. They're never sort of set in stone. And there's wonderful reasons for that. So it's not a problem. It's just that it's hard to plan. And I'm a lot of a planner. I'm a very big planner, in case you haven't noticed. So I don't think any of that would have been necessary for my husband. He's like, oh yeah, it's there. But I like knowing it's there in its own tidy little category fund. So that's something we did. And I really can't tell you how peaceful that makes our upcoming months look to me as far as our budget. It's just been wonderful. So I know not everybody can do that. Some people call this like other things. Some people do, let me say this in a different way. People do sinking funds where they save a little bit each month. This was just us doing it at the beginning of the year when we knew we had a cushion, so that we weren't saving for it every month. It's kind of a backwards way of handling that, and I just love it. I love the feeling that it gives me. Okay, so that's one of the best financial exercises my husband and I have ever done. I have loved how our January turned out. I'm very excited for how this is going to help us throughout the year. I do want to tell you that I have a free annual expense tracker on my website. So I have a monthly expense tracker, or you can use it as a category expense tracker. And probably in an upcoming video, I'll be showing you how to use that. So make sure you hit subscribe if this is a help to you and you want to continue this conversation. I'll be sharing helpful ways of using these trackers in the future. But there is an annual expense tracker there. I love doing it on paper. I usually do it on paper first, and then I input it into a spreadsheet, which we keep going from year to year so that we can look back and track trends and things like that. So I do like to use both a paper expense tracker and a digital expense tracker, but I will be linking to that in the description below. Listen, if this has been a help to you, I would love it if you would give me a thumbs up. That would just be such an encouragement to me. I'm very new here on YouTube, and if I don't feel like it's helpful, I might not continue. So that would be a blessing to me. Just if you watch this and you're like, oh, actually, this is helpful to me, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And that way I'll be able to see it's a help and I'll do more helpful content. And if it's not helpful to you, please just pass on by, or else leave me a comment about what wasn't helpful and how I could make it more helpful.